Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of the City Confessions. Today, I am joined by Jacob Lucas. He is a professional dating coach from the UK, so get ready for his accent. And he has an impressive, I think you're almost at 500,000 on TikTok,
I'm
so
there now. I'm there.
congrats.
Made it today. Whee.
That's amazing. So,
Awesome.
hi, how are you? And welcome to my little show.
I am very good, thank you. Yeah, the British accent probably sounding really strong to you now. But I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, been looking at your stuff online. It's awesome kind of thing. But yeah, so I reached out to you. I thought this could be fun for everybody listening. You've got a new book out as well, haven't you? So that's about dating as well. So I love to hear a little bit about that, and I love to give a bit of analysis on it as well. See what's going on, like the dating scene in New York.
Yeah. But this podcast is going to be about you mostly. So before we
Okay.
turn it to me, why don't you introduce yourself to my listeners? Tell us who you are, what you do, and why the hell are you in New York?
So I am obviously a dating coach. I am in New York, so I'm actually staying with my girlfriend at the minute in New York. And yeah, so I'm a pro dating coach. I've been doing it now for a few years and whatnot. But yeah, so I studied psychology for about 10 years. Got into the art of attraction, like the psychology of that, all that stuff. Found it fascinating. I started putting it all out online as well. People really resonated with it, and people loved it basically. And they said, "Oh, can you start coaching me?" I was like, "Absolutely." But yeah, it's grown on TikTok really fast. Hit 500,000 followers a day, which is incredible. Really, I was happy if I had 100 when I first started. I was like, if I get 100 people I'm helping, that's amazing. So it is really, really cool. Tends to be a lot more women that really like it as well, because they always have the questions like, why is this guy doing this?
Right.
And guys have it as well, but women are a lot more, not all the time, but I would say 90% of the time, a lot more open to receiving, like advice on their love life, whereas a lot of men just close it all off and keep repeating the same stuff over and over again and not getting better results, whereas women always want to self-improve. You do get men like that as well, which is great, but women really resonate with it. And I get loads of messages saying this really helps me. So I know you got a few messages today, didn't you, from people online? So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can dive into that too. But wait, I do have a quick question. So I know that you were studying psychology and you got into the art of attraction, but you personally, okay, and just be honest, because this is a raw platform. Did you ever struggle with like quote unquote getting women, or what was that like for you?
Interesting. So I've never actually been asked this on the podcast, but yeah, you're the first one. So when I was younger, probably about, okay, let's start with like school age. So when I was like 18 years old, very, very popular in school, always had like, girlfriend. It was very easy. Then when you leave school, the game changes, doesn't it? Because you don't have that social value to lean back on kind of thing. And I was like chatting to women. I was like, I suck at this so bad.
Really?
I was like, what is going on? I was like, I did really well when I was younger, like in like, like 17, 18, whatever. And I was like, why am I struggling here now? So what I did, I started like looking stuff up anyway, because I like to do psychology. And that's why I started getting to the psychology of attraction. And I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. And started like learning. I was like, okay, let's see if this does work. It does. And then it took about a few years, and it changed. Well, it changed my life really, because I went from, if you will, someone who didn't know what they're doing to somebody who I do all right. Like I said, I think so I got a wonderful girlfriend, so I'm doing all right.
Okay.
So,
and how did you and your girlfriend meet?
Instagram, funny enough, actually.
Really? Did you slide into her DMs?
Yeah, it was literally like that. It was there like I think that's the way now, isn't it? Like we met during the whole COVID thing as well.
Okay.
So it's quite recent, like, so it's quite a recent thing. But yeah, so I think today's climate, if you will, most of it is online anyway, because obviously everywhere's closed, or it's harder to meet everyone, should I say,
right?
Because you had to stick to your tables on night out and all that stuff. So people really hate the online stuff, that you kind of got to embrace it. It's 2022 now. You've kind of, the game changed a little bit, hasn't it?
I know.
So yeah.
I feel you. Because like, just a little bit about me as well. I was in like a long-term relationship when I was like 21 to 25. And that was I met the guy naturally in a New York City like bar, rooftop bar.
Yeah.
And then I went onto dating apps because it was like the normal thing. But
Yeah.
now I just really want to meet somebody like naturally. And
Yeah.
it's hard, like you said, because I feel like, especially in New York, I mean, the time that you've been here, everybody's kind of in their own worlds. Like we're always on our phones. We're so like closed
Yeah.
off. We want to travel from destination A to B. We don't really have this inviting energy to like have to like even give out for others to be like, hey, I am open to a conversation, whether it's platonic or romantic.
Yeah,
That's
that's
just
really
like,
interesting you say that, because when I come to New York, obviously I like going out and observing like different places I go to.
yeah.
New York is, when you go on night out, it's quite frustrating to watch actually, because you see different groups of people. Let's say you've got 4 girls there, 4 guys there. No one mingles in New York.
I
They don't
know.
really mingle. They stick on their phones and they use that as a safety net to like to avoid the conversation. I'm looking like, if these guys just approach these girls here, that's 4 people
Yeah.
and 4 people. I was quite shocked at that. I thought New York would be a lot more like, like chatting to each other, but it's really
Yeah.
not. I think, but I've been told before the pandemic it's been very different before the pandemic. But after the pandemic,
Yeah.
or the whole COVID thing, I got told by quite a lot of people the whole social game is very different in New York. But have you noticed that as well on nights out? People
Absolutely.
stay in
Yeah,
their group?
because what I was going to say was it wasn't always like this. I mean, I grew up here. So when you go out, it is natural to meet people and talk to people. But
Yeah.
I think that 2 years really affected all of our social skills and
Yeah, it has.
yeah, so it's been really difficult, but it's just funny that you also like notice that because it is true. But then I think like as I don't know about women, but okay, let's just go into questions. I
Okay.
think should women make the first move? Like how
Oh,
do you
I think, yeah, okay, I
yes.
like this question. So I think it doesn't matter if it's a man or the woman to make the first move. I think I always think like this: if you really like a guy and you're not sure if he likes you, and you're nervous about making a move, and you don't know if he ever will, make that move, because for all you know, next week another girl could make that move instead of you, and you could end up dating her, and you've lost out. Like it happens so often that people like, I'm going to just wait because I'm scared of rejection. Well, would you fear more, rejection or regret? Just make the move. And same for guys and girls. No matter what, I think it's whoever wants to talk to somebody first, go for it. If you're just waiting, you could be waiting your whole life because everybody might be really intimidated of you. So let's say for yourself, for example, you're a pretty lady, like obviously successful. A lot of guys find that intimidating. So for yourself, I imagine you have to make the first move more often than not, because a lot of people think like the pretty, the really pretty people have people flying in their DMs. It's not the case, is it? Because people get really nervous to approach them people, and they think, I'm not going to bother anyways. I'm going to get blown out anyways. What's the point? So I say, if you like a guy, make the move, go for it, 100%, because you don't be that person on the sidelines thinking that could have been me.
Right.
So
yeah. And I think it really shows confidence. And it's like just shoot your shot type of situation, because it really is fear of rejection. But it's like, who cares? It's like that, it's a 1 minute of rejection. And like I've always lived my life like I'd rather know than like wonder, as cheesy as that sounds. So it's so true. It's like, okay, whatever. If the guy is not available or he's not interested, then I can just go about my life and my day.
Yeah, confidence is hot for a man and woman. So like if a man approaches a woman, a lot of women find that really hot, and vice versa, because it just shows confidence. It shows I'm a woman, I know what I want, and I want you. And a lot of guys, well, I say about 50-50, some get intimidated. Don't worry about those guys. They're not the guys you want to get with anyway. Do you know what I mean? And some guys, more confident guys, like, this is awesome. Like, I don't get this very often. This is hot. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go shoot your shot, women.
Absolutely. I saw one of your most viral videos. You were talking about the rare, what is it, female personality?
Oh, the Sigmas.
And it was funny because I obviously watched it and I looked at the comments, and like I agree with everybody who's commenting, being like, this isn't rare. Like everybody is. Okay, for those who haven't seen it, tell us what it is first.
The Sigma. So you got the social hierarchy, if you will. Like, so what starts off like, let's say the 3 big ones, for example, we've got beta, alpha, and sigma. You have little other ones as well, like your omegas and all that stuff. But we'll stay to the 3 big ones. So you got like a beta, who's usually like, a lot of people think a real negative thing about being a beta character. It's not. The beta can be the most powerful character to be, because you can be the kingmaker, if you will. If you've got 4 betas and 1 alpha, those betas don't like the alphas shit out of luck, if you don't know my language. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the betas can actually, they're kingmakers. And people think, because there's such a lot of people don't really understand the whole social hierarchy thing. You see a lot of people go, oh, you're a beta. No, it's not like that. Do you know what I mean? It's not a bad thing. And then you've got alpha, which is like someone who's a leader, but alphas have a very different characteristic. A lot of women and men see stuff out like be the alpha on like these self-help videos. That's not always a good thing to be the alpha. Sigma is different. So an alpha is somebody who relies upon social, basically people to value them socially, to get like the validation from people. That's a very alpha trait. They need those like people to give them validation. If they don't have it, a lot of them crumble. A lot of them do crumble because they're not getting fed it, and then they start lashing out and getting angry because they feel superior. Now, a sigma is a bit different. A sigma is someone who's a leader, but doesn't need validation. So someone who's like confident in himself, independent, usually very intelligent character as well, and they don't need the validation of other people because they're self-assured, and their confidence usually comes from within themselves. Nobody's born a sigma. I don't think nobody's born a sigma. It's usually life events that happen to them that form that independency, form that confidence, and form like that leadership role. But they tend to be, that's really strange. They're reluctant leaders, but they make the better leaders in the alphas. That makes sense?
Yes, I actually think that's like is the wrong way, but that explanation is like so much better than the way you kind of structured that video. Only because the characteristics you mentioned were like, oh, they're independent, they don't need validation, they're very like sure of themselves, and it sounds like a confident woman, like, that's kind of what I got out of it personally from the video. But when you compare it to like the alpha and beta and the differences, I think then women or men, whoever's watching it, can then identify like, oh, this specific trait or this specific approach or behavior or whatever is what sets it apart from the alpha beta that is what we're used to.
Let's say you get like a lot of guys, I hate these guys as well. They always got to bang on about how alpha they are. I'm sure in a dating scene, you must have met a million of these guys. I'm an alpha male. Second you say you're an alpha male, you ain't, mate. I'm telling you now. If you need that, if you need something to tell somebody, like it's like if you need to tell somebody you're a leader, you ain't the leader. Trust me. A sigma never ever brags about I'm a sigma. They just naturally fall into that position. So I always say avoid the guy who bangs on about he's an alpha, because he ain't. It's like somebody who's really rich. They don't tell you they're rich. Someone who's really tough, they don't tell you they're tough. And someone who's really nice don't tell you they're nice. So if someone's like taking an alpha, they got a chip on their shoulder. But sigmas don't do it. They don't do it at all.
So I don't know if it's a UK thing or something, but we don't really use like alpha and like beta. But I do think I hear a lot about like masculine and feminine energy or femininity or masculinity. So that's how I'm kind of receiving it. Like maybe alpha is very like a masculine, person. But then I also know that both male and females have both energies, I guess you can say.
Yeah, so let's say sigmas, for example. For sigma female and sigma male are a little bit different. So a sigma male socially isn't as strong as a sigma female socially. Sigma female socially can adapt really well to a social situation. If you will, they can be like quite a chameleon with it. They can change a little bit to get what they need to get out of that conversation. A sigma male is very stuck in their way, very stubborn, right? And they can come across very arrogant, but they don't mean to be. Not, I was gonna say arrogant, I'll probably say dismissive when they don't mean to be dismissive, because they can't be asked, really. Whereas a sigma female, they will change their personality to get what they need out of it. So it means the end kind of thing, which is a sign of like emotional intelligence, because women are a little bit more emotionally intelligent than men as a whole, right? So that's probably why. The whole alpha thing is like, you can still be in a real feminine energy and still be a dominant person. Like you got like people like you think okay, if I'm more dominant in a situation, I have a really masculine energy.
Right.
No, the guys who say that are just guys who can't handle a strong woman. That makes sense?
Yes,
so a woman's like
totally.
a high earning woman, she's strong, she's independent. The guy's like, you're too masculine for me. No, you're too much of basically a bit of a wet wipe. That's what we call in England, right? That's the problem. It's not that she's too masculine, it's the fact that you can't handle that somebody has stronger characteristics than you. So if you said like, let's say for example, let's say Angelina Jolie, she's famous. I would say she's a dominant character. Is she feminine? Yes. Does she have masculine energy? Not really, but she's still very strong characteristics, right?
Okay,
so, yeah.
That's really interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, so I want to shift gears just a little bit because, you know, like I said, I don't want to ask you the traditional, everyday, frequently asked questions. So I told you before, I have a friend who is a dating coach. And he told me, I'm not going to out you out if he's listening, but you learn a lot of tactics as a dating coach, right? Whether it's psychology, how to approach women, but you can, if you chose to, be like manipulative in your approaches. And because you kind of see right through things, or I guess like, I mean, you're in a relationship, but if you were single, you were dating, I'm sure you can like know how to get a woman to fall in love with you, or how to do X, Y, and Z, right? To like, because you have studied it. So I guess like when you're helping out your friends or you're coaching, right, one-on-one to your clients, how do you find the line of them utilizing it basically for the good instead of just like, how do they know if it's coming from a very tactical, you know, way or a very genuine way? Because I hear it all the time. People are giving me all these rules about dating. Don't do this, do this. And I'm like, that's just not, I don't approach dating in that sense.
Yeah. See, that's really interesting. I've never been asked that either actually on the podcast. That's pretty cool. Yes, you can manipulate. I think with this, you have the dark side of the game and the light side of the game. So if you look at it like that, you can manipulate the shit out of people. You know how. Yeah. But there's a lot of dating coaches I do see on TikTok or Instagram. I'm like, you're an asshole. I'll be honest about it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's usually the men, like they're very toxic with their advice. Like, no, king, do this, king. It's like, do you know what I mean? And it's like, but no, it's basically it's a cheap way to get someone to like you, but it's never sustainable. So when I'm talking to clients, instead of then like, okay, because you can manipulate somebody by like doing stuff like emotional spiking is very manipulative. So you've got somebody who it can be manipulative and it can be really nice if used properly. So you've got somebody in a real toxic relationship, yet they go back and they say, oh, the sex is amazing because if you just argue, but then we have makeup sex, it's amazing, all that stuff. And then they argue and then they have the highs and the lows. So someone who's very manipulative can do that on purpose. So they get persons like this. So gambling, for example, that's why people get so addicted to it. They reckon gambling is more addictive than a lot of drugs, right? Because in gambling, you've got your highs and your lows. And basically what it's doing is releasing chemicals in your brain. So let's say me and you were in a relationship and then one day we have a massive argument and then we make up and then we have a real nice date or whatever. And then we kept repeating that cycle. It becomes addictive. And even though you hate it, it becomes addictive. And you're thinking, why is that person still that person there? They're an asshole. Yeah, but I'm rewarding and punishing you constantly. And that's how you get people addicted to it. Same with gambling. But the way to get the nice side of it is basically like working on your inner game, if you will. So becoming more of a high value person. So it could be like your intelligence, like your like ambition, going to the gym or whatever it could be, right? Just working on yourself. And then what's going to happen is people are going to start gravitating towards you because you have the higher social value, the higher the higher intelligence, the higher drive to do things, and people start seeing that's attractive and that's sustainable because you have a foundation that's just yours alone. No one can take that away from you. Whereas, for example, again, if I was being manipulative to you, that emotional spiking, you'd be like, hang on a minute, that don't fit right. Something's not right here. Then you start questioning it and it's not sustainable because you can then remove yourself from the situation. You can't remove my value away from myself if I build up. That's impossible. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you're in it, you don't realize it because also like you said, you're the first experience of like the makeup sex or whatever, you're like, oh my God, like we're fine now, we're back to normal. And then when it starts repeating itself, then you almost get like consumed by it. And then that's where the addiction happens. So it is really interesting.
People get addicted to negative emotions. It sounds ridiculous, I know. People do. They get addicted to negative emotions. So like, say if you get somebody who's like, we all know somebody who's so negative in everything they say, and you're like, oh, just shut up, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? Because everything you could say, I won the lottery, they'd be like, yeah, but you're not giving money. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're just addicted to saying negative things. Right. People get addicted to that in relationship as well. You get people who are really positive and get addicted to positive stuff. It's all about how you frame everything. But yeah, so I never ever teach clients to do stuff like that. But I will say, if somebody's like pulling away from you, this is where the whole like punishment a little bit comes in. Not like punishment, but like you pull them away yourself. Right. So like if somebody's like being really blunt with you, you don't like go, okay, work on my value. You think, okay, you're going to do that to me. I'm going to show you that's wrong. I'm going to pull away from you, so you're not going to repeat that behavior again on me, because it's not on. So it's more like standing up for yourself in that way. Yeah. But I never say straight off the bat, you need to go in there and you need to get them going up and down with their emotions. It's not fair. And that's why players and fuckboys are really do get a lot of women, because they know how to do it, and it's wrong. Do you know what I mean? But when some guy who's a high value guy comes along, they always beat the fuckboy. They always beat them, no matter what. The girls, I wish I was with them and not this chump. Yeah. Every time. I
hear sometimes they were like, the nerdy guys or the ones who you friend zone make the best husbands. Like, would you agree with that? Like the people that you like overlook, they're actually like the best partners. So I think that's like really interesting.
The only thing is they come across nice, don't they, at times? Yes. And it's like, no, bro, you gotta be a nice guy with an edge. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are like your personal top red flags in a relationship? Because you just mentioned emotion spiking, the term, right?
That's you said my top red flags, you say? Sorry. Yes. Or okay.
What are the most common ones that like people overlook?
Okay.
That can like sneak up on you.
The ones that sneak up on me.
Yeah, okay. You know.
I like that. You got really good questions. Okay, the ones that sneak up on you. I always say, okay, one of the main reasons why relationships fail is people get too comfortable, in the sense of they, you know, when like someone gets with somebody, they're like, for example, in good shape and they try hard in what they do, kind of thing. And then they get in a relationship and it's really cliche. They stop trying to impress their partner. And it's very slowly done, because, for example, like, oh, should we just stay in today and not go on a date or whatever? Like, we stop making an effort, ask them about their day. And it's very subtle, and it's not something you're going to break up over. But over time, it's like a year, you're like, hang on a minute, this is not the guy I got with in the first place. This guy's not who we thought he was. And then little arguments start creeping up on you. So like, you don't make the effort like you used to with me anymore. Why is that? And they're like, oh, stop moaning. Do you know what I mean? And so like, you got, I think, why you got them, you got to maintain that the whole way through. Second one, okay, I would say is something called poison dripping. You ever heard of poison dripping?
No, I don't know where you come up with these terms.
I got like a whole encyclopedia in my head. Poison dripping is okay. The poison dripping is one of the most toxic things someone can do. Right? It's not everybody does it, but basically what it is when somebody is criticizing you, for example, so it'd be very small. This is something that a lot of narcissists do, okay, and they're very, very clever at it. So let's say if I was critiquing you and I wanted to let's say a lot of narcissists like their partner's self-confidence to go down to raise their own, right, so they can have a little bit of control on them. So let's say, for example, with you, I'd be something like should you be eating that? Do you know what I mean? Something small like that. Should you be eating that? And you don't think much of it at a time. You're like, oh, probably not actually. I'll put it down. And then they start saying stuff like, have you actually like been going to the gym properly? Like, it's very small, very small. And people like, they don't think much of it. At a time, you're thinking, I guess not. But then you're thinking, you're a bit of a dick. But it's not something to break up over, right? And then over time, people start going like that. And that's how eventually people end up staying in relationships with people who really are hypercritical of them. and it's just nasty, and they shatter their confidence. I see this so often with so many people. A lot of people get their confidence shattered and they don't even know how it happened. So in a 10-year relationship and they leave, they're like, I have no confidence anymore, because that person broke them down so much over time that it's like they don't even realize it's happening until it's too late. So that's a massive one. Like, it's really common. That is like super common. It's really sad to see. It's really sad to see. But it's nice when you see someone glow up after that. I love the glow up after that. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, I love that. Because then they overcome that person. Right. Does that make sense? And you're like, yeah. And it always comes back stronger. And the third one, the third red flag. Okay. What would you say? What would you say yours is first? When I get back to mine, I'm curious.
Oh my God, there's like a running list.
What's your biggest one that goes in your head? The first one goes into your head.
Well, I think maybe when you're in a relationship or you're getting to know somebody and the first argument you have is really telling of how they react to like anger. And that's something you can't really like talk about. I mean, you can, but you can't really say it until you experience it together. And I think seeing somebody react in a way or what they say to you it's not a red flag more than it is like an eye opener, because people say all the time, oh, I don't mean what I say when I'm angry, right? But I feel like if you can go there, like the fact that you could go there and the fact that you did go there in that really intense moment is just like, I don't know. It's not a red flag, but
that's really interesting to say that. Actually, I've been reading Aristotle, a lot of like Aristotle stuff lately. Talks about anger, and he's like one of the smartest men ever lived, right? And I was there like, he changed my whole perspective of anger. And you're right, the whole red flag thing. If someone keeps getting angry at you all the time, so anger comes from a place of superiority. They think they're superior to you. You will not get angry at somebody who is levels above you at something or levels below you at something. It's always someone you just think you're just a bit better. You're better than. Do you know what I mean? I'll actually take away the whole level, but I would say just levels above you won't get angry. If someone's below you, you probably would. So is there like anger? This is it's changing the whole perspective of anger. Anger is a form of pleasure for the person being angry, right? I was like, how's that work?
Really?
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. So the reason why we get angry is to achieve something, right? So we get, so me and you have an argument. I'm getting angry at you because I'm trying to achieve victory in that argument. I won't get angry. There's no other reason to get angry, or I'm trying to get angry to get an outcome that I want. Now, to achieve like a victory in something is a form of pleasure, right? That's what you want. Now, if I'm arguing with you, I'm trying to get that form of pleasure at the end by achieving that victory. Because when you win an argument, like, yeah, I win, fuck you, isn't it? That's what it's like, isn't it, for people? Excuse my language.
We curse all the time here.
And it's like, so when someone gets angry, for one, they're trying to achieve the victory over you. So they actually form, it's really hard to explain, because it's trying to form pleasure, if that makes sense. It's not trying to like consolidate you and me. How can we work through this? What's good for you? What's good for me? It's I'm trying to beat you. That's why people get angry. And it's always from a place of superiority. You never get angry at someone unless you feel superior to that person. You don't get angry otherwise. So every time you're in an argument, or if you think back to every single argument you've had where someone's you've been angry at someone or someone's angry at you, you think that person was trying to be superior to me. Or you'll start thinking, yeah, I got annoyed at that because I feel superior to that person. I did it to myself, look back, and I was like, shit,
it's true.
That's every single scenario.
I just had an encounter right now. Yeah.
That's what was really yours? That's it. Like, was that like in your head as well then?
Yeah, like I remember in my like last relationship, whatever, my ex was like really upset at me for something, and I'm like thinking about how he acted in the car and everything. But now I'm thinking like he just wanted to like, he felt superior, in that moment, and wanted to almost win the argument and like be right, even though that wasn't even like, that's not even what's important. But it's also an ego thing, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's a superiority thing. Once I learned that, and I've ever like been in a scenario that would have annoyed me before, I was like, why are you angry, Jake? Do you know the scenario? You know why you're being angry. Stop it. Like, do you know what I mean? And once you start thinking like that, your whole mood will change towards arguments.
Yeah.
You either walk away from them or settle it there and then,
Yeah.
in a diplomatic way. So interesting. But yeah, think about that with your exes or whatever.
Yeah.
When they've had an argument with you, it's the same story because they want to beat you. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And that's also like a method for self-regulation, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like when you get there, you can like regulate your emotions and feelings. Wait, I do have a question though. So when you approach these red flags, right? Because sometimes red flags, they're more like, hey, let's look at it, more intensely. What is your rule about approaching red flags? Like, does it happen once and then you talk about it, you give it a pass, or is it like, no, run away as fast as you can?
You have your forgivable ones and your unforgivable ones, I think, right? So let's say forgivable one, let's say, for example, let's say again, me and you in a relationship, you get angry at me once, it's a pass. You know what I mean? You can let that go because just they're like, she might have had a bad day. It's a red flag to get like really, let's say, for example, if you started insulting my mum, yeah, you're done, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's a red flag. That's a weird thing to do. You don't insult someone, right? But let's say you just get angry and you say like, you just give me an insult or whatever, right? That's forgivable. But if you keep doing it, it's not. It's a red flag, keeps reoccurring. So like my dad said, once a mistake, twice is on purpose. Always, right? As long as you explain to that person what's wrong, then that's their fault, they keep repeating it. Stuff if they keep red flags, like say if they're only talking to you and you're talking to 5 other women, done. I hate liars. Can't be asked of that. I think if you tell someone like a little white lie because you're embarrassed of something, okay, whatever, right? But there's lies that are very strong. I think if somebody's a liar and you catch them out and it's like a serious lie, done. Instantly done. Do you know what I mean? So again, if he says, I'm only dating you, he's talking to a woman, get rid of him, because I'm telling you now, that will, once a cheat, always a cheat. They will reoccur over and over again, right? You're shaking your head. It's like, once a cheat, is that like...
No, because I believe that. I mean, I do believe people can change. But I think if there's like a specific clear pattern in who they are, because you know what it is? Women always think they can change men. And that's just like, listen, it's not happening. There's just no way.
Yeah, it's like, I'm cynic with it. I'm quite like, I used to be really like the other end. I was very optimistic, but now I'm a bit of a cynic, but I should always be neutral. I'm aware of I should be neutral, right? But I always think, I don't think the worst of people when I'm talking to them at all. I start off neutral, but I will, if I see something bad, I'll be like, yeah, it's done. Like very dismissive of it. But yeah, as you were saying, yeah, a lot of like, sorry, what were we saying again?
Women wanting to change like men.
Yeah. Don't try and change a man. Like his foundation. If you met a guy and he's 30 years old and he is where he is, he ain't going to change, in my opinion, unless he has a very big thing, a big thing happen to his life, like a revelation. He ain't going to change at all. His foundations are set too strong. If you get an 18-year-old who's a bit of a dick, all right, they're going to change. You're 18. Do you know what I mean? I'm not who I was when I was 18, and I'm sure you weren't either. But if someone's like an adult, they're not going to change. Don't even bother at all. I think unless they have a massive epiphany in their life, ain't going to happen. And it's really sad. A lot of women are like, oh, but he promised me this time he would do this. Yes, a lie. I could tell you I went to the moon. I didn't. Do you know what I mean? It's a lie, right? So if a guy is a real big thing, red flags, really simple, is if it's at start, if you ignore the red flags at the start, that's why they're going to come up at the end and the relationship's going to end because of you ignored them at the start. I know all dating coaches say that as well, don't they? Don't ignore those red flags at the start because that's the reason why you end. And it's so true. It's completely true. Just because you want that dream of this person could be this or that, no, don't happen like that. They're either cool at the start, they'd be cool throughout, but if they're a dick at the start, you're not going to change them at all.
Yeah. When I hear you say that, it reminds me of like when people say like don't fall in love with potential, because I think women do that more than men. Like we always try to like have a good time with a guy or whatever, and then we just like dream of like a future and like all this crazy, we map out our lives already. And I feel like we are not really getting to know the person. We're not really seeing that person. We're just getting, feel good from like the endorphins of getting attention, essentially.
Yeah. Do you know what's crazy about, like we're saying, like me and you spoke a little bit before this, didn't we? About the whole New York women like want to, be in a relationship.
I was going to talk about that.
Yeah. it's like, that's crazy to me, because the New York women are really good. Do you know what I mean? And yet the guys in
Or
New York
shit.
don't make the same effort the women make, do they? Like,
Yeah.
at all. Yet these
Mhm.
women want to get in a relationship with the guys, and the guys have like, they're just like, they're not settling down. Like, do you think you're better than these women?
Yeah.
It's mental. It's absolutely insanity
Yeah.
to me. I'm like, what? So yeah, tell me a little bit about that, though.
It's funny you said that, because I joke around with my friends. I'm like, I swear to God, if we didn't live in New York, like if we lived in the South or the Midwest, I would be married and have a house and like 5 babies, because it's just easier. It's not necessarily settling, but like finding that like quote unquote family life. Whereas
Yeah,
in New York, we're so programmed to run on careers and achievements and like,
yeah,
and I'm not saying that doesn't matter. That's really important to me. So like to find somebody who also supports you in that way, and
yeah.
like going back to like full circle what we were saying before, not feeling intimidated by that, it's just really hard. Like the pool of men is
Insanity.
just
It's like, for me, like, say if you get a woman who in New York, let's say, for example, like, I don't really like giving numbers, but let's give numbers because it's just easier right now. Let's say you got a woman who's like 10 out of 10 in New York.
Mhm.
She can start dating a guy who's a 7,
Mhm.
and then he will get rid of her. It's like,
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
wants to go get rid of women. And I'm like, you lot are mad. It's
Yeah.
absolutely, it's so weird. I have clients from New York,
Mhm.
and I talk to them, like, and like, well, chat to different women from like New York and stuff as well, like, through like TikTok or like Instagram or whatever. They send me messages like, what's happening here? I'm like, these women are like really high level women, and yet
Right.
they show me the guys that they're trying to get with.
I
I'm like,
know.
I'm like, what? Like, if the women just immigrated to London, you get snapped up like that.
Okay, so I was gonna ask you, since you obviously are, well, did you grow up in London?
I grew up in England, so I'm in southwest of England, so near Bath, so the Roman
Okay.
baths. Probably the best way to describe it. So it's nice.
Okay, so let's
Nice
just say the
little area.
UK. Do you
UK.
think, so you were saying that there is a huge difference in, like,
Yeah.
what is the biggest observation you've seen between men and women, or just like relationships and dating in the UK compared to America?
Okay, so I would say the biggest difference I've noticed is the women in America are more, not always at all, because you get responsive women in England, but they're usually more responsive in America. So they'd be more up for experimenting on their dates, kind of thing. They date more people, whereas I find people in the UK, which is not necessarily good or bad either side, they are very selective about who they go on dates with. Very, very selective. Whereas the women in America would be more like, you know what, I'll give them more of a chance to see how it goes, kind of thing. That's what I found. Whereas the men, it's a complete opposite way around. In England, they're more like, let's see how it goes with her, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
In America, the guys are like, they're just really picking, they jump. It's absolutely bizarre. So I say, like, there is a massive difference completely. It's like, basically, if you got the roles and just flip them over, that's all it is. The men and women roles, you flip them over.
So all the women should just go to the UK, is what you're saying.
If all the women went to the UK, like, and all, like, it just swapped over, it will work, right? I think because, like, I don't actually know the whole cultural reason behind it, but the women in the UK are, extremely, like, because they're very, very, very selective about who they go on dates with. Very, very selective, which isn't a bad thing at all. But what they do is they kind of like blow themselves out a little bit by not going on a date with that guy. So if you go on a dating app, for example, in England, the women will only chat the guys they're really interested in, which is fine, which is not a problem about. Whereas in America, they will have a little bit more of a conversation and be a little bit more open to seeing what somebody is about, which, again, they might go on dates and have more time wasted on dates, but they might end up meeting a really good guy as well. Whereas, I would also say the men also in the UK are more willing to settle down than the men in America, especially New York.
Okay.
Really, it's just a little bit. It does obviously come down to individual as well, because you get women in the UK who are really responsive and date different guys.
You're right.
And you get women in America who are really picky. But as a whole, that's what I've been told by quite a few people. So I had a lady I was chatting to. She went to England for work, and she went on dating apps like what? Why is every guy responding to me? This is bizarre. This is mental. Whereas in America, she wasn't getting the same response at all. And she's like,
It's
this is
really
crazy.
Yeah.
Super interesting. Yeah.
So cool. Okay, I know we spoke a lot about dating and questions, but my podcast is called The City Confessions.
Yeah.
So I don't think you saw this coming, but after I invite my guests to come give an overview of who they are and what they do, and we chit chat, I basically force them to give me a confession.
Okay.
But this could be about anything. It can be you as a dating coach. It can be you as just Jacob. But what is one thing that maybe people don't know about you? What is something that you think is like a fun fact, or just something that is, you know, it can be silly or deep. It's however you want to answer the question. But if you can share a confession, what would it be, Jacob?
Confession about me. Oh wow, you've really put me on the spot. I did not see this coming. You should have told me this prior and I would have something good. A confession about me. Wow, okay. Some people who know me already know, but I used to be a professional boxer. But people don't know that. I've been on telly a few times for it as well. I wasn't a very good professional boxer at all. I was a good amateur kind of thing, but I wasn't a very good professional. Different. And that's why my nose looks so smashed. Is every single time in lighting. I tell you what, a little thing people don't know is I invert my videos, right? I invert.
Does it actually make a difference?
Yes, and it's weird. I don't know how it does. If I invert my video again like this, my nose looks like this, and it goes across my face, and I don't know why or how. It's the lighting, all the lighting on my nose, right? It's really weird, right? And every time I get my camera out, I'm like, you know, it flips it on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
If I get a normal camera out, I'm like, what the fuck has happened to my face? It's so weird. And people who see it like, what the fuck is going on? Like, do you know what I mean? You might see a couple of TikToks on it, but yeah, so my nose like looks like it's got like people on TikTok used to rip it and say, no cartoon character, and you draw it like a triangle like that to the side. It looks like that, and I don't know why, but we flip the light, it just changes the nose. I'm like, this is amazing. So people don't know about me. In real life, I look a bit different. So, Instagram filters, right? Yeah, my nose is ruined. So,
oh my god, I love that. Yeah. Okay, so I know we're wrapping up soon, but tell me some flirting slang in the UK. I know you guys say like I fancy you, which you know what it is. So I watched Love Island. I Love Island. I used to actually, this guy that I went on a date with, he wanted to watch it, and I thought it was the dumbest thing. I was like, why the hell are we gonna watch this stupid show? But it was so addicting. But anyways, so I love the show. But I know you guys say like I fancy you. What else do you guys say? Like when you get the ick, like if that is a thing. I never knew that, but like
you know, I said in America, don't you?
No.
What?
I just feel like, I don't know, like I'm over it. Like I'm, you know, but now it's good that I have a word to say. So yeah, just tell us
Okay.
maybe
so
like,
this is really good because my missus, that's what I'm there, missus. My girlfriend.
That's not a weird thing too. When you said missus, I was like, that sounds very like.
Yeah. Like so my girlfriend, when I'm talking to her and stuff, she's still like some lingo. It's just like, what? So I said to her, like, you look really fit. And she's like, yeah, I go to the gym. And I was there like, no, you look fit, mate. And she's there like, yes, I go, I work out. I don't know what you're getting at. And I was there like, no, you're hot. It means hot. So that's a big one.
Yeah, you're fit. Love it.
So a little bit generational as well. This is more like my generation, a bit lower. The word peng. You heard that one? Peng. No. Yeah. So it's more of like a younger thing, but it's a big one. Peng. So peng, it means really, really hot, mate. If someone's peng, they're hot, right? Oh, and it's like, if you said to America, one I always say to clients as well, and I keep forgetting, so I keep them to English. I keep going, I'll just pie them off. I always say that, and everyone's like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, pieing off means like, if you pie somebody, right, you're basically like, let's say, for example, if you're talking to a guy and then he ghosts you, he's pied you, right? So where it comes from is, you get like a cream pie and you smash it in someone's face. That's really English. Another one is worldie. If someone's a worldie, So if someone's a worldie, they're like, I come from Geordie Shore. You ever remember Geordie Shore, the TV show? What? Why'd you miss it out? Geordie Shore is like huge. A lot of people listening probably know what Geordie Shore is. It's from Newcastle, right?
Okay.
Up in the north of England. And that's where it got really big. This is like 10 years ago, and everyone still uses it in England. So if someone's a worldie, they're like a 10 out of 10. They're like the best of the best. So if someone's a worldie, there's loads. Because in America, it's really strange. Because when I come here, I was talking to people and they look at me like I'm talking like an alien language.
Yeah.
So I always say it still. If I get like to a shop or something, oh cheers, mate. And they look at me like, what?
Well, that's very common, I think.
No, cheers means goodbye, doesn't it? In America.
Yeah, but when you're saying like hello, or you're just like
no, cheers means thank you. But everyone's looking at me like,
like when you're like leaving or something, right?
Nah, like cheers. It's cheers, isn't it? Like
if you're buying, let's say you're buying something at a deli or a supermarket, could you not say that? Cheers, mate?
You can say it then, but let's say me and you sat down for a drink, you put a drink down, oh cheers. But it's like people look at me like that's really weird. I'm like, no, it's not. Like decent is a big one as well. Decent. So decent in English. But if I said someone's there decent, you'd be like, oh, she's really fit or hot, should we say? She's really hot. You guys, decent means average, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's so weird to me. So I said again, I used my message. I went, wow, you look really decent. She went, should I change? I was like, no. I was like, you look hot, man. It's like, you just said I look decent now. I was like, yeah, you look decent. Wow. This is really good.
I've never heard of that.
What lingo have you got? What lingo have you?
I don't know. Like you look. I don't know. I'm trying to think now. I feel like I'm on the spot.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, we just say you're looking fine. You know.
No one says fine. No one says fine in England.
Really?
Nah, like that's
I think that's more for like the women's. Like if like a man is like describing a woman, like she's like.
So I'll tell you what was really weird. Like one thing I said to my mate as well. I was like, yeah, that's weird. So whenever we say like if I said to you, oh look at this picture, and you're like sure, I'm like, what the fuck do you mean sure? Like, do you know what I mean? If I say to like a waiter here, and I said, oh, can I have a coffee? They're like, sure. I was like, what's your problem? And they're like, cause yeah. And again, my message said like, sure just means sure, doesn't it? Like yes, right? Yeah. But sure means yeah. But if you say sure in England, if I said to someone, oh mate, do you want to go out tonight? I went, yeah, sure. I'm like, what's your problem? Why you being aggravated for?
Okay, so it means weird, more like I'm not interested, like
Yeah, sure is like ugh. Like I roll, like, yeah, sure, mate. Whereas in America, it's like the normal thing to say is like, yeah,
it's like sure. Yeah. It's like all right. Cool.
It means I'm not interested as much in England. And I was like, I found that really weird because I was like, everyone I was talking to said sure. I was like, you got a problem with me? it's so weird, mate, isn't it? Oh but God, I spoke to my mum and my friends about that, and they said, no, you're not weird thinking that. I always think exactly the same. It's like, yeah, I thought it was strange. Like, so it's like you learn a whole different language coming to America. Very strange.
It's really interesting. Okay, we are basically winding down. So if you would like to plug away, do you have anything interesting happening? Do you want to talk about any, I don't know, programs, secret projects?
So what I'm thinking about possibly doing is a body language course for people, is putting out there. So if you're ever interested in body language, I'm a body language expert. So I'm thinking about doing stuff like that. But if you just want dating advice, whatever, one-to-ones, drop me a message, or follow my Instagram, follow my TikTok. If you just want to check out, you're bored at home at night, just scrolling through. I get a lot of people say they binge watch my stuff. Yeah. So they just like going through and they just watch it all, like it's like 2 hours later. But yeah, just check out my stuff like Jacob Lucas 101. But yeah, like I said, we set up a body language course soon. If anyone's interested in that, should be pretty cool. But yeah, just enjoy the podcast, really.
Wait, one more question.
Okay, go for it.
What is your secret to a successful, healthy relationship?
Oh,
like your number one secret.
Easily, it's so simple. It's consideration. Being considerate to each other. When you're at home, instead of like always having one person cook, take it in turns. Instead of someone always just planning the date, take it in turns, plan the date. Like that's what I do. Like, do you know what I mean? Me and my girlfriend, like, okay, it's your turn, plan the date tonight. It's your turn, no, it's your turn. And cooking, like, I always cook lunch, you always cook dinner. Simple stuff like that. Like washing up, you take it in turns. It sounds really stupid, but that makes the world of difference. you know what I mean? You both feel like a complete partnership. You feel like a complete team, and you never argue either. You never argue because of it. It's like your turn to do washing up. Oh, I did it yesterday again. Like, that's not fair. And you never argue about small things. It sounds really basic. But it's just being kind to each other, isn't it? It sounds so cliche, but it's true.
It's always the basics that is like the foundation. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you so much, Jacob, for chatting with me today. And I'm sure everybody who's listening found it super helpful or was just really entertained by his accent or couldn't really understand him. But either way, make sure you follow him. And I'm having all of his links in the description. If it's on YouTube, it'll be in the bottom here. And if it's on the podcast, just expand the show notes. But other than that, thank you. And I hope you all have a good day and stay tuned for next week's episode. All right.
Thank you so much. See ya.